shortly after I did the second edition of this, I published, this is kind of a greatest hits book about the body.
What a body, too.
Yeah, that was in my backyard at Woodstock. Katie Dearlam, she was the girlfriend of Ned Sontag, who was a little skinny cartoonist. And somebody said, hey Katie, go take your clothes off and go pose on that rock for Charles. Let him take a couple of pictures of you. We did this in about maybe 3 minutes, and then we finished our picnic. It's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So this is sort of greatest hits of me, me as a Christmas tree. Greatest hits of my favorite pictures about the body.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a quote that I wrote to close the book. Are there still areas of the behavioral map marked unknown? If so, book my passage at once.
Mm-hmm.
For it is on these mysteriously familiar journeys that I feel most alive. In these dark worlds I sense no limits. In these forbidden acts I taste the infinite. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Fakir hanging from the tree doing the Sundance ceremony. So this is a cool book. This is just a showcase of some of my favorite work about the body. And a lot of this is the modern primitive stuff, which became one of my major obsessions.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the San Francisco style. This is earlier stuff. This is pictures from Forbidden mostly. And then here's some pictures. This is the Hellfire Club. I shot there quite a bit. Plato's Retreat.
How did you get permission to shoot in places like that?
Spider and I had private parties there where we could do anything we wanted.
Mm.
This is late 70s New York disco craziness.
Mm-hmm.
This is just before AIDS came along, or just before it was discovered, when everything was really wild. Also early 90s, I had a lot to do with the research book Modern Primitives. But that wasn't a very well printed book. I wanted to do a coffee table book of the same subject, but with better reproduction and so on. So there's Fuck Here Again. This is a very pretty book. I like the way this book looks.
Have these all been on Last Gasp?
Last Gasp printed the second edition of this just recently.
Hmm.
I printed the first edition myself because I wanted to do it right and nobody was volunteering to do it. So I printed the first edition of this and I sold out 2,000 books at $50 and I made some good bucks on this besides getting the book out. So this uses the original, the beautiful plates from that first edition. And I wrote the text sort of giving the modern primitive ideas a positive spin. I wanted to show the best possible view of the subject. I wanted to idealize the scene, and I also wanted to explain what I thought it was all about.
And how would you explain what modern primitive is?
Modern primitives are reclaiming the body from the control machine, I guess you could say. They're deciding for themselves what's real and what's important, and they're saying, this body belongs to me. It doesn't belong to my mother, it doesn't belong to the state, it doesn't belong to anybody but me. I'm going to do whatever I want with it. It's kind of saying everything starts here with this, and with this I'm going to make the revolution. Now this is cool. Earl is an aerospace engineer, a very smart guy, but he also has a very strange look.
Would you say that proportionately a lot of these people are smarter than average?
Well, it's hard to generalize, but some of them certainly are. And there's all different kinds of smart, as I go into in this book. You know, there's cerebral smart, and then there's body smart, and then there's spiritually smart. Some of these people may not have cerebral smarts, but they're smart in other ways. So I like the way this book looks. This is a cool looking book. And it's a companion to the Research Modern Primitives book. Cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. This is This is only about 5 years ago. I wanted to do a book on blood sports and blood play, because there's a lot of stuff going on with blood, especially in California these days. So this book scares people. I had a show of this at my gallery here in San Francisco, and the reviewer gave it a really snide, nasty review, and the gallery got all upset, and that was kind of it between me and the gallery and the reviewer and the whole deal.
Whoa.
I mean, it really caused more trouble. But
Isn't that your middle name?
But check out some of the pictures in here, and you'll see why. You know, this is scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted it. You know, my best work is scary. My best work punches you right in the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's what I wanted to do with this book.
Well, it's completely taboo, the
Well,
idea
yeah.
of blood.
Yeah, I mean, it's taboo anyway, but in these days of AIDS and all that, blood is really, really doubly taboo.
Exactly.
This is probably the most radical book I've ever done.
Did you do any of these piercings or the bloodletting, or you just documented
No,
it?
I just documented it. But you know, I don't do piercing. I don't do bloodletting. I don't do tattooing. My background is anthropology. I have a college degree and graduate work in anthropology. I study behavior and I document behavior, and then I go out and document it and then bring it back and show it to you. That's kind of what I was trained to do in college. It's just they didn't realize that I was going to be going into American subcultures and bringing back this kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of assumed that I'd be going to so-called primitive cultures and bringing back that kind of information, which is interesting because it implies that if a person of color does this in a faraway place, that it's somehow more beautiful than if your next door neighbor does it, or the kids of your next door neighbor.
Hmm.
And that ain't necessarily so. One of my ideas is that this is interesting no matter who's doing it, no matter where it's going on. Vampires.
So what do you mean when you say vampires?
I mean, people who drink each other's blood. This is for real. That's not chocolate syrup.
Hmm.
Mm.